Hey, Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome back to an Islam podcast. I am back in the host position. It's your boy Abdullah Patel. I've been gone for a couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm back and looking forward to a fun episode. We have our usual guest here, no stranger to the podcast, no stranger to the league. It is the commissioner himself, Habibi. Assalamualaikum Habibi, how you doing?
Walaikum salam, Abdullah, and definitely welcome back. Good to see you back again, buddy.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I've been out of action a couple of weeks, but my team held it down. We were able to, we'll talk about it, but yeah, definitely, glad to be back and excited for an interesting semifinal matchups tomorrow. And just seeing how the season's progressed so far. The top four teams have all progressed. The top four teams are in the semifinals, so it'll be interesting to see how tomorrow plays out. But yeah, without further ado, we'll just go over a quick overview of the quarterfinal scores, and then we'll do a semifinal preview just on what we are gonna expect to see tomorrow. So yeah, we'll get it started. So I wasn't here for actually any of these games. So Habibi, maybe you could kind of walk us through what you saw with the Iman and Sabr series as well as the Yakin and Haya series.
Yeah, so this game definitely did not disappoint. It actually kind of went what I was expecting, but I don't think I saw Mike was not available in this first game, so that was definitely like evident. But this game really was, as the score reflected, it definitely was an evenly based scored game. Both goaltenders really stood on their heads on this one. Um, it just goes to show how, when we were talking about this series from before, in terms of like, what Summer brings to the table, and what Iman's veteran leadership has, what they could do to bring this team down. Both of those strategies kind of pointed out, but this game did not disappoint. It was definitely a close game from the first period to the second period, but obviously Summer came out on top on this one.
Yeah, for sure. So we can see, 2-1, 25 shots for Sabri, 22 for Iman. So very even offensively. And Fahim Degmaster getting the third star of the game, standing on his head like he's been doing all season long. And definitely, a good outcome for Sabr being the third place team, Iman being the sixth place team who just squeaked into the playoffs, actually. So definitely, Suburb did not want to be the team to, lose to, especially that game one and how crucial that game one is, to lose to a team that just made the playoffs. Because Suburb actually was tied for first place and really missed out on that buy and that advantage by head to head and goal differential or wins. So it needed
Yeah,
tiebreaker. So,
yeah, I think we talked about that last week too in our podcast. I
mhm.
think like Subur's journey. I mean, they really had a longer journey. They were actually in last place at the beginning of the season, and they, after the trades kind of welled in, they kind of built their way up. So they were actually, I think it was a 9 game win streak or an 8 game win streak going into the playoffs. And you're right, Iman actually barely squeaked into the playoffs at the last game, so their momentum was not really known until really like that last game of the final. Of the final night of the regular season, but Subur's journey. I mean, they really went through a true journey, and they're really unstoppable right now in terms of like what they've gone through. So the momentum is definitely going on their side, and it definitely showed on that first game, and actually throughout the whole series that they were really hungry, and that nothing was going to stop them from that night.
For sure, definitely. So, a little biased. It is my team, but glad to see us progress. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to play, but definitely looking forward to getting a chance to play with the boys again
Yep.
tomorrow. So, yeah, game two, we see Sabr beating Iman 3-2, but Iman actually outshot Sabr. And looking at the score sheet, it was 2-0 Sabr. It was a really comfortable game, and then all of a sudden the game just kind of flipped around. Rayan Mahmoud with 2 goals for Iman and tied the game and really made Sabr uncomfortable. I know I was asking Abdullah Qureshi, who's a player on my team. He also wasn't playing, but he was behind the bench just to support the boys, and he was giving me updates, and he was just like, what the hell? Like the game just turned like just like that, and they scored 2 quick goals. So,
I think
definitely.
I think I think that one of the key things on this one is Mike Farello. I mean, he was not there for the first game, but definitely his presence was definitely known in the second game, and him quarterbacking the whole offense, the whole team in terms of adding a different dynamic to the game. It really was there, and as you can see, that they had more shots. And to be honest with you, they had a lot more chances. But again, when you got a goal like Deckmaster behind, between the pipes on Suburb, it really did make a difference. But I think the key difference maker on this one, in terms of what Iman brought to the table in the next game, is really like bringing those key players that were not there in the first game. Having them in the second game definitely made a difference for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So Iman, I believe, pulled their goalie in a tie game just because Suburb did win game one. Um,
Yeah.
and so Iman needed to win to force overtime. And then Suburb put it away with an empty net goal. But definitely Iman taking it all the way. And maybe this, we saw Suburb kind of struggle against Rida in week 11, and that kind of ended their win streak. Um, and then, after that, they did pick up a win against Haya in week 12, but, it definitely not what Suburb wanted to do. So I think Suburb really would have hoped that they would have cruised a little bit more, because, they got a really, really intense semifinal matchup this week. And so they're definitely, going to have to work for it equally as hard, if not harder,
Well,
against, yeah.
yeah, and it's like we always said, like playoff hockey is different, right? So I mean, despite the matchups, how you face teams during the regular season, you know that once playoff season kicks in, you're definitely facing a different opponent for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I think it can be said for Haya and the Yakin series though, because this one was, by the looks of it,
Not what we expected, I'll tell you that.
yeah, one
Yeah,
way all around. Game one, Yakin 6, Haya 1. Yakin with 29 shots. Arcel Bhatti with 22 saves. Really good performance from him. But this was all Yakin by a mile. Like you can see Yakin
yeah,
sweeps all 3 stars. Umair Ngar with, I believe, his first game of the season, because he came in on waivers for Adam Ahmed. No one claimed him. But then he ended up missing the last 2 games of the season anyways. So I believe this was his first game or second game. And he, a goal and 3 assists in his first game, a difference maker for Yakin, because we saw Yakin struggle at the end of the end of the season. They lost, I believe, to Suburb. They lost to I don't know if they lost or tied to Iman. But they kind of struggled without their number one pick really most of the season. So with Umair coming back, a really, really good performance from them in game one. And
yeah. I just want to add, so they actually had a backup goalie this first game. So,
look, we did. Obviously I wasn't, yeah.
yeah. Sorry,
I
can you
was
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. I was
Yeah, yeah. So
talking
our
to,
yeah, our
yeah, what was
go ahead.
that?
No, I was saying Arsenal actually did not play this game.
Oh, he
Like
didn't.
no, he didn't play this game. They actually had a backup goalie during this first game.
Okay.
Um, but tackling what we're saying on the last podcast in terms of like what Yakin does. So you're right. Actually, adding Omer Ingar as their top round pick, because Adam Ahmed kind of dropped out, but he's a very familiar guy to that dynamics, like in terms of like what that team mainly consists of. Obviously, West End players, so he's definitely like a solid fit in terms of like fitting into that team directly. But this team is all offense. This team was absolutely all offense. We knew that before the game coming in, and we knew that this is the type of game style that they're familiar with. But at the same time, Haya was also built on defense, and we also said like if Joaquin was to do what they do best in the pressing them on offense, then that it's their game all the way. And I think that's exactly what happened on that first game. They just pressed, and I don't think there's any answer for Hamza Button in that game.
Yeah, for sure. So, I was talking to Hussein Malik before or between the games, and he was telling my boy that wanted to come watch is don't watch. He was feeling defeated even before game two was the ball was even dropped. So, definitely a dominant performance for Yakin. And what's interesting about this is Yakin was fourth place, but Yakin was 4 points behind Suburb behind Rida and behind Takwa. So all the other three teams had considerable regular seasons compared to Yakin. And what's surprising about this is after this performance, how they really just dismantled Haya and just really sent them home after game one. To be honest, Takwa saw this and decided, you know what, let's not pick these guys to play. Let's not poke the bear, and instead chose to play uh Subber. So
Yeah. So
definitely,
Yakin is definitely not a team to be uh, um, to be slept on. They're definitely a team that is very well constructed, despite what the record shows. They're a well constructed team. They're definitely a team that plays well together, and they have the goaltending in Arsenal when the right Arsenal shows up. But you're absolutely right on Tuckwa. We were all surprised in terms of like who they picked and everything like that. But there was there must be obviously some thought element as to why Tuckwa chose so sorry, Suburb in terms of like any other team that they had the option, because obviously they had the option to pick. Um, I was shocked just as much as everybody else was, but let's dive right into it. But Yakin, you're absolutely right in Yakin. Yakin is definitely not a team that I would want to face in the first round either,
yeah.
despite them being the lowest seed.
Definitely. So I think looking at the standings, Tuckwa was in a pretty hard position. Like I feel like usually the first place team gets like, it's a really good advantage because you get to choose your opponent. You really get to set up the bracket and help your chances at making the finals. Um, this season was really a different story because three teams were tied for first place. Uh, Rida, Takwa, and Sabr all had, I believe, it was 16 points.
Yep, they were tied for first place. Yep.
Tied for first place. So, like when you see that, regardless of who you're choosing, you're gonna be choosing a hard opponent and an opponent that could have been first place.
And
So
essentially you're choosing a team that you feel would be an easier route to get to the championship. So
yeah,
that's
but
an added
honestly,
pressure.
all three matchups for them, whether Takwa chose Rida at second place, whether Takwa chose Sabr or Takwa chose Yakin,
All
it would have
three
been,
teams would be
yeah,
hard.
all three
Absolutely.
teams would have been. Yeah, me personally, I thought Takwa was going to choose second place. I thought they were going to choose Rida because in the season, Takwa had the head to head over them. Takwa beat them 6-4 or 7-4. And, Takwa beat them pretty convincingly
Yeah.
through their offense. And so Takwa
But
tied
maybe
and lost to Sabr. And then I believe they split the season series with Yakin. So,
yeah.
yeah, I thought they were going to choose Rida, but, it seems that Takwa boys had a conversation with their boys that were on Yakin and just said, you know what, let's just pick our boys in the
Or
semifinal.
maybe because they have a lot of friends on Subber and they know their style of play, they feel that their play would match, or if not, over dominate Subber's team, because it's kind of like one of those things where I know you so well that I know I can beat you. Whereas they're not really familiar with the West End guys. Probably, I don't know. Maybe that was a factor as well, because obviously there's a lot of familiarity with the personnel on Subber and Takwa. So maybe that was kind of a factor too, like in terms of making their decision. But you're absolutely right in your assessment. I mean, no matter who they picked, whether it was Rida, Yakin, or obviously we know they picked Subber, it was going to definitely be a tough matchup. But Yakin is definitely one of those things where one of those teams where I would have definitely had to think twice in terms of like, is it really a team that I would want to face in the first round?
For
Sorry.
sure. For sure. So, yeah, with that, we have semifinals tomorrow. Inshallah, it's gonna be a cracking night because it's gonna be intense. We have 8 p.m. Dhaka versus Sabr, 9 p.m. Yakin versus Rida, then 10 p.m. game two from Takwa Sabr, and then 11 o'clock ending the night with game two with Yakin and Rida. We didn't see any overtime or shootout in the quarterfinals. I
No.
can almost guarantee we're probably gonna see, some overtime, maybe even a shootout
I
tomorrow
yeah.
because
I hope not, but I was definitely surprised to see Tuck would take the 8 o'clock game.
yeah, for
Not
sure.
gonna not
Tuck
gonna
was
lie.
notorious for showing up late. So uh
Yeah, not gonna
you know
lie.
I'm on Subber, so let's just hope there's a lot of traffic on the DVP for them to get for them to get it to get into the hangar because
Yeah,
yeah.
but just looking at the guys that, obviously we had two teams that were waiting in the background. So in terms of like Tuckwell, they obviously never had the opportunity to play last week in terms of like waiting for that team to come in. But man, I mean, there's nothing more to say about what that top line has. Like in terms of like with Adam, Bully, Yahya, Huzaifa, and Manja, just those five guys alone, and obviously with Yusuf Mohammed in that, that's a solid line. That's a solid line. It definitely a line that the suburb definitely needs to like, think twice in terms of like how to contain that line because those guys, if they get going, and we know they can get going, they're definitely a tough team to match up. So I don't know what your team has talked about in terms of like containing those guys, but I think if you have a way just to shut those guys down, which is definitely a daunting and tough task, then it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this one pans out for sure. But obviously, on the goaltending side, you guys obviously have a solid goaltender, but Yusuf Mohammed is also one not to shy upon either. He's definitely shown that he can shine at tough games, and we've seen him do that. But you're right. This first matchup between Sabr and Takwa, um, it's going to be a very fun one to watch.
For sure. So, yeah, I think we'll look to the season series. Honestly, I think even looking at the season series isn't a fair comparison because, the first time that Suber and Dakwa played, it was early on in the season, and there was another sporting event happening at that weekend, and so both teams I think were playing with one guy on the bench. That game ended 2-2, and then the game that happened at the end of the season, Suber won 4-3, but Takwa was using a backup goalie in Muhib Shah, who isn't normally a goalie. He played great, but
He played
uh,
great, yeah.
yeah, but Takwa was missing their real goalie, as well as I think one of their GMs. So definitely
A
you know
different team this week for
definitely
sure.
a different team, and it's going to be a different matchup. We're seeing guys, getting hot at the end of the season. Hassanji Patel and Suber. I think he has like 7 goals in the last 4 games, including playoffs. So, definitely the second round pick getting hot at the right time. Um, Tarek Kazi, my GM, he's putting up points. We got guys like Rehan Ghazi on the back. And
And the guys you've acquired during the trades, you got Tahir
yeah,
Maruf.
Tahir Maruf, who finished with the most assists this season,
Yeah,
as well as getting Hamza Gaya and Asim Sheikh at the trade deadline.
Asim Sheikh,
Definitely,
absolutely. Yeah, you guys
yeah.
have definitely
So
turned it around since that,
yeah, the Suburb
since the
GMs,
trade
my
deadline.
GMs have really kind of taken this seriously and like really have gone for that last trade that they made. They truly made it, thinking this is going to be the trade that's going to get us that chip and the new rings that are coming out. So.
Yeah, and just talking about that too, like it's shown obviously, like with your 7 game win streak, those trades that have come along during those 7 game win streak has actually shown that you guys are winning because of those trades, but also you're winning because you guys are gelling at the right time.
Mhm.
And you're getting it from all ends. You're getting it from all 3 lines. So that's definitely a plus side. But again, not taking away from Tuckwa, they definitely have the right personnel too. I mean, we haven't even talked about Naeem Shah, like in terms of like what he brings, but we talk about obviously the usual suspects of Tuckwa, but they also got guys on the second line that can also do it, and their record also shows because they're obviously a team that finished in first place for a reason. It wasn't by luck, it was obviously by design. So they definitely got guys on all 3 lines. That can contribute. They definitely have guys that could take the game when they need to, and definitely it starts with those 5 guys that we mentioned between Adam, Bully, Yahya, Huzaifa, and Abu Mandra, like in terms of what they can do. And if they need to, man, they could definitely switch it on a whim in terms of like when they need to. So when you say games will probably finish in an overtime or a shootout, I definitely see it happening in the series for sure.
For sure. And now, moving on to the next series, Yakin and Rida. This is gonna be a fast series. Like I can already picture all three CTG brothers running on one end. if they give up the ball or if the ball rings around, they have MP, Umir Guard, they have Dippy, they have a huge pool of talent on Team Yakin coming out of Malton that will punish you if you make mistakes.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
I
And,
think
and and we saw that when they played Haya. We saw that's exactly what they're built for, and that's exactly what they're going to do. And they've
for
shown
sure.
that in their first series with Haya.
I think one thing that makes this series different is, both teams know who they're going up against. Arsenal was the goalie of the Siddiqui brothers the last time they all GM'd. He was their goalie in the finals that they lost a year ago, and so the Siddiqui brothers know how Arsenal is and how they play. On the other end, Muhammad Ozer Mutala, who's being a goalie for the first time this season, has really impressed. Honestly, everyone coming in, he is no stranger to those Rida guys, and he's been playing great this season. But those guys on Yakin, can they pick the corners? Can they find the corners? And will they kind of make him pay for any mistakes? If you give those guys an inch, they're gonna take a mile, because they if you cheat on the post, they'll find a top corner, especially guys like Umir Ngar, Donnie, MP, like those guys, they have wicked shots. And
Yeah,
so, this is
but
going
you
to
can't
be
forget. Yeah, you can't forget about the Siddiqui brothers either, right? I mean,
for sure.
you
And
got the
not only
same
Sneaky
guys.
Brothers, they have RC,
Hamza,
yeah,
Hamza,
RC and Hamza, who, can lead really and change games.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
like
don't
Hamza,
forget my boy Bika.
yeah,
Cannot
Asif
forget you.
Bika as their fourth round pick, who's almost at 100 goals in his Islam career. So,
And we're watching you, buddy. We're watching you.
yeah, he's chasing Ovechkin's record. So yeah, he's the
Yes.
Ovechkin of Iceland, man. He's with that clapper, and for them to have so much depth, like this Rida team is insane. Like I remember when we were versing them on our summer team, we're thinking, okay, their line one is off, their line two is on, and then I see RC Hamza Chaudhry and Asabika walk on, and I'm like, this is their line two, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
So
It's
definitely huge depth, even with Bilal Alvi on the back end. They have we can't forget about Zuhair Fancy. We can't forget about really any of these. These are a very, very, very well versed team. Um, so it's
you're
gonna be it's
absolutely
gonna be
right.
exciting. I think both of these series are almost too close to call. Like we can't even make our picks. Obviously, me being on Subber, I would give my team the advantage, but definitely like both of these series, it's gonna come down to who wants it more. And yeah, I
And
think
it's not even cliche, to be honest with you, because
yeah,
it really is going to boil down to who wants it more, and it's actually reality. But especially in that second series, I mean, both of these teams are really constructed very similarly. You blink an eye on any of these two teams, any other team will obviously, um, you know, they'll capitalize on it. Obviously, with the guys that they got on Yakim with MP, and the players that are around him, you got the same on with the Siddiqui brothers in terms of what they could do, and obviously with Yusuf Siddiqui being, I think he scored the most goals in the season, and everything that he's able to do. That's definitely something that should not be ignored. We obviously know the chemistry that those three guys have, but you're absolutely right. Like when you see Bika and you see guys like that on the second line, and then you see the third line, then you see Hamza Chaudhry and RC. It's like, where does this team stop? This team, and obviously you can't forget Ipti as well, Jasham Qureshi. He's obviously a guy that's that grinds deep and kind of like does what he needs to do, for his team. But and you got Arsenal too. We can't forget about Arsenal. This team is just stacked all around, like in terms of depth. But again, we keep talking about Yakin. They're definitely not a team that you blink an eye on, because the moment you give them a chance, they'll capitalize on it. And you saw what they did in the first series with Haya, a team that's very, very well constructive defensively, and they blew them out, simply because they were able to expose that. And I think if Yakin can do what they did to Haya and do it to Takwas or to Reda, then definitely that's something that Reda needs to be prepared for.
for sure, for sure. I think right before we kind of end the podcast, I think we'll take a look at just how the season um finished points wise, Yusuf Siddiqui with most goals and most points.
Yeah.
Definitely a player that can put, that can change the game. Um, and Rida is really going to be hoping that he does that tomorrow. In second in points, we have Usama Bula, 27 points.
Mhm.
Then we have Bully at 22 points, and Yehia at 21 points. Then we have MP at 21 points. So,
All those guys are in the finals or in the
all those
semis
guys
right
are in
now.
the semifinals, and so it's gonna be an insane series, potentially even the most exciting semifinal series we've ever had. In Iceland, and I know every single season it seems to be the season that eclipses the last season. I know we talked about that in the winter season, with how even everything was, and then that young summer team that really everyone wrote off, that finished like fourth or third, just turned up in the playoffs and went on to win it all. So, definitely, um,
I think
this
goaltending is definitely going to be a factor in
this
all these because
season, yeah,
we've talked about all these offensive minded players, and you just mentioned all the stats, like in terms of like all those players and where they are on their respective teams, and all those top four guys are definitely on the top four teams that are in the semis right now. But looking at the goaltending, I think goaltending will definitely be a key factor in these two matchups. And definitely, like we said before, like on the second game rather than the first game, because obviously the second game is a test of endurance, and just to see how they stand out in the second game. But yeah, I think goaltending is going to be key on these two matchups, and yeah, and all four of them are great. Obviously, like we know what all four of them bring to the table, but yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how the goaltenders will be able to contain all these four high offensive teams, because we're definitely shown that all these four teams can score.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, inshallah, it's gonna be exciting. I'm glad I'm playing tomorrow.
Welcome
But
back.
if you're not playing, definitely come out and watch, because this is, maybe we'll even live stream it because of how if
I
we
think
have
we
enough.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should.
So maybe we'll live stream game twos, the game twos. So yeah, definitely tune in to our Instagram and follow us if you aren't already following us.
And if you
Yeah,
haven't registered for winter,
yeah, definitely register for winter, guys. There's I think
few spots
maybe
remaining.
a few spots remaining. So we have some exciting new jersey designs that will kind of maybe preview in a couple of weeks or next week, as well as some exciting GM pairings that will release probably starting next week. But yeah, definitely everybody sign up for winter if you haven't already done so. If you think fall is amazing, winter will be even more amazing.
Mhm.
And yeah, any last words, Habibi, before we hop off?
No, I think it's just again, like we said the last podcast, but probably even more this podcast. I think you're right. I mean, every week that that passes by, we always say that this matchup is going to be the matchup of the week, and then the next one's the matchup of the week. But this one really will be. I mean, these four teams that are in there are very high offensive teams. So if you like high offensive games, definitely tomorrow will not disappoint. You've definitely mentioned all those four players that those top four players that can score. They're all going to be there tomorrow, inshallah. So they're obviously going to, they're the expectation for them is to obviously continue what they're doing. So, yeah, I think for us, I'm definitely looking forward to tomorrow. And like you said, if you're not playing, come out anyways. If you love watching high scoring hockey, definitely tomorrow will not disappoint for sure.
For sure. Well said. So yeah, with that, we'll end the podcast. Jazakallah, guys, for tuning in. The chat was a little quiet today. No worries. Maybe next week
Go
we'll
watch
get
later.
more action. A little more action. They were watching the Leafs lose right now in overtime to San Jose. So I don't know how these
Oh my
guys lost
god.
20-0, but no surprise there. Anyways, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow at the hangar. And yeah,